Hey everybody, it's Marshall Monkey here, and this is going to be my breakdown of the Disney Investors Day 2020 presentation for the Star Wars division. I'm breaking up the divisions because I feel like there is so much announced that I have to break it up in order to in order to cover everything and break it down for everybody. So let's get started. So again, this is the Star Wars presentation that we're breaking down. I have a list of everything that was announced, and I'm going to go story by story in order that this list does. This is IGN's list. So let's get started. I'm so excited. Okay, so first, I think that this was a great, before we even get into breaking it down, let's talk about Star Wars in general. Star Wars as a brand is, in my opinion, Disney's weakest brand, right now. Now, this changes stuff, this new slate, but I think originally it was Disney's weakest brand due to that last trilogy being such a hot mess. So to see them do this, I think is really helpful, and I think this is really going to bring the brand back to where it needs to be in terms of value for not only the fans, but mainstream moviegoers and streaming watchers. So this is great. Okay, so let's break it down property by property or show by show or whatever you want to say. So first on the list is the Rogue One prequel, which is Star Wars Andor, and it'll be focused on Cassian Andor, Diego Luna's character from Rogue One. I'm not as excited for this as other people are. I loved Rogue One. It's one of my favorite Star Wars films, but I just think, I'm not as excited for. I just think there are other things, in my opinion, that to be more excited for. However, I am excited to see more of the Rogue One corner of Star Wars once again because I love that movie so much. But it'll be exciting. I'm excited to see it. We didn't get a trailer or anything, but we did get a sizzle reel, so that's cool. But it's just not one of my highly anticipated shows, for Star Wars right now. So, but keep it in the back of my head. I'm sure I'll be more excited about it once we actually see more from the show coming out. Next, Star Wars ObiWan Kenobi. Oh my gosh. First of all, Ewan McGregor, he's just fantastic as Obi-Wan. I mean, so fantastic. This show will be featured, it'll be around 10 years, I think, after the events of Episode 3, which is excellent. Also, Luke would be, 10 years old? Or 11, somewhere in there. So, could we see a young Luke, set before Episode 4? That would be cool. As a cameo or something. Maybe he just happened to be around and Obi-Wan didn't bump into him yet. But, who knows? They have so many possibilities. But there's that. Then, the big headline that came out of this, though, is that Hayden Christensen will return as Darth Vader. What? I know. Okay, so I know some people that I talked to about this were like, isn't he just going to be wearing a mask the whole time, right? So who cares who's behind the mask? And won't they have the original voice of Vader come back to do the voice? I don't know. Maybe they'll do something with Hayden Christensen's voice. You never know. I mean, voice actors change all the time, and voices for characters change all the time, but they're still iconic. So, look at Harley Quinn. Different voice actors have played her for as long as I can remember, right? So, and that's still an iconic character. So I think Darth Vader could be the same. And then Hayden Christensen's going to be under the suit. The only reason why I think they would really cast him, though, is that they might do some kind of flashback. Maybe. I don't know. Or maybe. They probably won't, but you never know. Because I just am why would you bring Hayden Christensen back, if he is going to be under the mask the whole time? Unless you're using his voice. But I don't know. We'll see what they end up doing with Hayden Christensen. It's just weird to me that they would bring him back. Maybe, I guess, to have him with Ewan McGregor and make... I feel like fans really tore into him from the prequels. But I don't think it's Hayden Christensen's fault. Also, I think in Episode 3... I really liked him in Episode 3, so I'm excited for this. But yeah, it is weird that they would bring him back unless they're going to have some kind of flashback. We'll see. Then next up, we have The Acolyte, which is a show that is a female-driven series set in the High Republic era. But I'm also hearing that it's going to be more dark side focused. So that will be really cool. This is going to be a really good show. It's supposed to be a mystery thriller. And I do love me a thriller. I also love the dark side. I think it's interesting we talk about Star Wars, right? But we don't talk about the politics of Star Wars as much. Maybe some people do. I don't. Because I just don't care enough to. But it is pretty interesting. Recently The Mandalorian, spoiler for the recent episode of that, The Mandalorian Season 2, Bill Burr's character said something really interesting about, and the whole episode did, about, people versus other people, when it comes to war, or the Empire versus the rebels, / later the New Republic. And I think it's interesting we talk about that because, I can't remember his name, but the general that was there in that episode was talking about how people will welcome the Empire back with open arms because they want order, they don't want freedom. I personally am an anti-Empire. That's my stance, anti-Empire, just because I think that when you try to bend free will, and suppress free will for your own gain and your own cause, I think you get lost in that. I think truly you get lost in that, and that's why the Empire is so sinister. Now, I know there's the whole argument of, there isn't any order when people are free, and, somebody else is just going to put their thumb over them if the Empire doesn't. But I think the Empire goes to more sinister means to make sure they're on top. So that's just I'm not a fan of that. But I think it's interesting we're going to go back to the High Republic and focus on the dark side as well, because that's going to add to good versus evil in a way. And I think that if it's a high concept thriller, it'll be really cool. So I'm excited for that. Next, Lando Calrissian is getting a series. I love Lando. I thought that Donald Glover was pretty good as Lando in Solo. So I'm excited for that. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Donald Glover's version of the character. Maybe. I mean, to be honest, Solo felt more like a Disney Plus film than it did, or it could have been its own series. I don't think it needed to be a movie. So I think that Donald Glover would be very at home there as Lando Calrissian. We'll see if it's his version of the character, but I think it should be, right? I think that's what they might have said, so maybe not. I don't know. Then next up, The Mandalorian. We'll talk about The Mandalorian itself, but we have some spin-offs to talk about as well. So first of all, Ahsoka's getting a show. That's iconic. Rosario Dawson's so good as the character. I feel Ashley Eckstein should have been brought to live action just as Katie Sackhoff was, because not hearing Ahsoka's original voice kind of made me tear up a little bit, because I was like, oh man, we have Rosario Dawson, which is such a great choice. The fans chose her. Dave Filoni casted her. It all came to fruition, which is great. But without Ashley Eckstein, it just feels off. And I feel like Rosario Dawson doesn't capture Ahsoka's spunk. Maybe she will in her own show, but she didn't. Even in Ahsoka's older age, she still has the wit. I think that Ahsoka will always have that as a character. And I think Rosario Dawson lacks that. So maybe in her own series, she'll develop as a character. Rosario Dawson's performance will develop. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like Ashley Eckstein should have gotten that gig. That's just my opinion though. But I think Rosario Dawson's a good choice too. And I think that the idea that Ashley Eckstein has given her the blessing makes it all the more real and better. So we'll see. This is going to take place within the Mandalorian timeline. I'm assuming she's going after Grand Admiral Thrawn in the show, because that's what was name dropped in the Mandalorian season 2. So that's exciting. And I think Ahsoka's the female lead for Star Wars that we need right now. Although there's a lot of female leads coming into Star Wars, and again with the Acolyte, and then in my opinion, Star Wars Rangers of the New Republic, which we're talking about next. So Rangers of the New Republic, everybody is theorizing would be Cara Dune's show. So Gina Carano needs to dial it back on social media. There's no defending it. I think it's okay that she's conservative, because everybody has a right to be, whatever they feel. But I think the reason why it's bad for Gina Carano in this show is that she's bringing so much negative attention to The Mandalorian Season 2. And there's been so many articles about that. I recently read an article, a headline, where it said that Disney might not give her a spinoff if she doesn't dial it back because of the negative backlash. So we'll see. I mean, the show, I think, is so far out. I don't know the release date. Hold on, let me click on it. I think there might be a release date. But if there's a release date that's far back, they have time to rewrite her, and write her out. So that could, they could do that. I can't find a release date, but yeah, they could totally write her out if the release date's far back enough. So I'd be careful if I were her. I think ultimately the ball is in Gina Carano's court. And I think, there's a huge argument to be held about whether or not she should be able to, spread her opinion on social media. But I think the only reason why I think that she shouldn't, not because she can't, because everybody has their own opinion and is entitled to it. But the only reason why she shouldn't is because it could hurt her chances of having her own spinoff. But I'm here for it. I think she's done so well with the role. So I gotta say, I think it would be a great idea to have her get her own spinoff. We'll see what happens, though. Then next, we have the animated series, Star Wars The Bad Batch. Personally, I didn't like The Bad Batch. That was one of my least favorite storylines to come out of the last season of Clone Wars. But when I saw their trailer, I was blown away. And I'm very excited to see the show. I think this is going to be great to pick off where we left off with Clone Wars, with The Bad Batch. I think it's going to be fantastic. And I'm really excited about that. Then there's an anime project going on called Star Wars Visions, which will be 10 anime shorts, and it will be told within the Star Wars world. That's cool. I think that's going to be interesting. So that's cool. I think that'll be cool. I'm excited to see what they do with that. The animation is going to be really good on that, I think. As for the films, Patty Jenkins is confirmed to direct a Star Wars film, and it will be called Rogue Squadron. This is great. First of all, Patty Jenkins, I think, is becoming such a big get for studios that it's good that Disney, got their hands on her, in terms of work. I think that this will be great for her. I think this will be great for Star Wars itself. I hope there's a female lead because she's just done so well with female characters. So I'm ready for it. Patty Jenkins talked about the fact that her father was a pilot, and she lost her father, in the line of fire. And I think that for her to come and make this movie about the pilots in Star Wars, that's great. I think, and maybe this could be the first, I don't know, maybe this could be the first, I don't know. Has Star Wars been, in the awards circuit that much recently? Like, I'm talking recently. I don't know. I don't think they have. I think this could bring Star Wars back to the awards circuit, to the, Oscars. I think this could be Oscar level, because you have the Oscar narrative with Patty Jenkins' personal life being injected into the movie, and I know she'll do a good job with it. So, we'll see. This is interesting. It's really interesting. They also mentioned Taika Waititi's movie, but they didn't give any info as to what it's going to be about or any kind of title or anything like that, but they mentioned that. And then they didn't mention anything about Kevin Feige's movie as well. Kevin Feige is producing a Star Wars film, so it might be the Taika Waititi movie. We'll see. As for Boba Fett, because I know a lot of people are talking about that. So the trades were talking about how Boba Fett's supposed to get his own spin-off series, and that it's filming right now, but it wasn't confirmed in the slate. So the theory is that Boba will take over for Mando in The Mandalorian Season 3, because that was confirmed, because there's rumors that Pedro Pascal didn't resolve things with Lucasfilm and Disney after leaving the project, after leaving Season 2, because he couldn't do more scenes without his helmet. So, could they use Boba Fett to push out Mando? I don't know. I mean, the evidence that we have is that in The Mandalorian Season 2, its filming timeline is the same as this Boba Fett timeline that we've been given. So, Boba Fett, if it were filming right now, it could make that December release date next year that The Mandalorian Season 3 has now, that's confirmed to have. So, it is likely that could be what's going on. We'll see. That's interesting to me. I think Pedro Pascal is such a great get, and I think that if they lost him and that they tried to push in Boba Fett to replace him, fans would get mad. But then here's the thing. It's like, that's the drawback. Do you want Pedro Pascal? Well, if you do you love Mando that much? If you do, he's going to want to do scenes without his helmet sometimes. And how much do you want Pedro Pascal? How desperate are you for Mando to stay in the show? Because I feel like that's what it's going to get down to. And I think Disney's going to have to ask itself, or they're going to have to ask themselves that question too. So we'll see. I think Boba Fett taking over, though, in my opinion, I think it's great, because I love Boba this season, and I think it would be an interesting take. Although The Mandalorian Season 3, Mando and Grogu have such a good connection. I don't want to lose that either. We'll see. The finale is next week, so we'll see what happens there. I think the finale will answer the question for us. Are they going to sideline him in the finale, and that will carry over into Season 3? we'll see. So that's interesting. But that's all the Star Wars announcements. I gotta say, out of all of these, I think my favorite is definitely the ObiWan Kenobi series. I'm truly excited for that. And Patty Jenkins' movie as well. I think that's also exciting. So we'll see more as the year goes by. I'm so excited for this. But what do you guys think? Do you think this is good for Star Wars? Is the brand finally strengthening once again? Comment down below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.